The assassin.
You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Well, that Monday Night Football game was an absolute snooze fest between the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, it started out where it was just like a turnover fest where it was interception, fumble, interception. Neither team wanted to do anything. Neither team wanted to score. And then finally, a couple of times, the Dolphins were able to score a couple of touchdowns and actually get the win here. So they did get the win, 23-15. Tua had a pretty solid game, 20 for 28, 207 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And the interception was terrible, by the way, but that'll happen. But, in that almighty snooze fest, the Dolphins got the win in that one. So let's move on to the Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings for this week. And not a lot of shakeups in the top, I'd say 4. But then once we hit down 5, things are starting to get a little bit different. There's one team I'm actually starting to look at who's been riding high for the most part and is now starting to kind of fall apart, and I'm starting to have some questions about. So we'll get there when we get there. So let's start off at number 1. Who remains number 1? The Detroit Lions, overall record of 8-1, and they won in yet another different way this past week in that just crazy back and forth where Jared Goff had 5 interceptions, and yet they were still able to get the win and overcome that. Just their defense is able to get the turnovers. Their defense really is able to get at the opposing quarterback. Their offense is able to take care of business when they need to. And their special teams, they also are, this last game, the kicker is who really the pressure was put on, and he was able to walk away with the game winner. And so, to me, like I keep saying, the Detroit Lions, the best team, head and shoulders above everybody else, at least right now they are. And they look really good. And they get yet another crazy win, and it win in a completely different way. And now they're starting to just build that resume and just start getting better as the season wears on. And as we get closer to the playoffs, this team is going to be so battle tested that they're not going to be afraid of anything that comes their way once they hit the playoffs. Then at number 2 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings of the Kansas City Chiefs, overall record of 9-0. This is another team that keeps winning in many different ways, and obviously is going to be battle-tested throughout, but they are winning differently than the Lions, and that's why I put the Lions above them, because the Lions are winning in convincing fashion, whereas the Chiefs are just getting by. And that's not to say that they're a terrible team. Obviously, they're 9-0, so they keep winning. They are the 2-time defending champs, so they are arguably the best team in the league. It's just the way they've been winning is mostly because the other team is beating themselves. And, hey, like I keep saying, a win's a win, but they're not winning in a convincing fashion like the Detroit Lions are. So that's why I keep putting the Lions above them, because the Lions keep having to make comebacks. The Lions keep having they're battle-tested all the way through, whereas the Chiefs, they're pretty much just hanging on each and every game, and they get the win because the other team beats themselves up. Pretty much. That's how it has been so far this season. Then at number 3 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings at the Baltimore Ravens, overall record of 7-3, and this team is just, they are getting better as the season wears on as well. Offensively, they are so damn good. Lamar Jackson, 2,669 yards through the air and 24 touchdowns, and still only 2 interceptions. This guy, it's like he's already got 2 MVPs. He's looking for MVP number 3, but he's really looking for that Super Bowl ring. And this team's stacked to the deck. I mean, Derrick Henry, he's getting stronger as the season wears on. The receiving core is actually starting to become more reliable as well, because there's always been questions about their receivers, but now they seem to be getting better each and every week. The defense, their secondary has been their biggest liability, but their front 7 is getting at every quarterback. So this Baltimore Ravens team is very good. And they continue to look very good, and Lamar Jackson is looking like he is well on his way to a 3rd MVP, at least at this point in the season. Then at number 4 in my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings at the Buffalo Bills, overall record of 8-2. This team is all about Josh Allen. He's got 2,281 yards through the air, 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 4 rushing touchdowns as well. He's getting the job done in every way, shape, and form. And then you take a look at it in the defense. While they're not as dominating as they've been over the past couple of seasons, they are still making plays, and they're still showing up every game. Their front seven is getting at the quarterback, but they're also causing turnovers as well. And this Buffalo Bills team, they seem to be getting more confident each and every week, and they seem to be growing more and more as a team as the season wears on. Then at number 5 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings, a team that I still don't really believe in, but the numbers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they've actually really stepped it up since their bye week, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Overall record of 7-2, so that record, of course, helps them as well. It's really just like Jalen Hurts. There's just something about him in this offense where he still does not look comfortable. It seems like a lot of the plays, he's just kind of like running around and he just throws the ball up and there's a receiver. And then, of course, you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield, who's really been huge for this offense. But it's really been about the defense since their bye week. Their defense has really stepped it up. They've most of their opponents really just haven't even scored a touchdown on them. And they've been causing turnovers. They've been getting at the quarterback, and they've pretty much been the backbone as to why they keep on winning as of late. And then the offense just keeps making plays as they need to at certain points. They're getting the big chunk. Excuse me. They're getting the big chunk plays. They're not really completing a lot of drives, and especially at the beginning of the game, they are not looking that great. But still, defensively, really starting to get locked in. And, I can't really deny that they keep on winning right now at this point. And so they've moved up a bit in my power rankings so far. Then at number 6 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings are the Minnesota Vikings. Overall record of 7-2. I've always kind of questioned this team, even when they were undefeated, mostly because of Sam Darnold. Yes, he has his big moments where he's able to just light you up and just take care of business and score a bunch of points. But then he also has those terrible moments. And right now, he actually leads the league in interceptions with 10 interceptions. And it's becoming a problem in the red zone as well. So I'm wondering if this is going to, we're about at the halfway point of the season. Is this going to be something that takes a steady decline for the Vikings, where he just keeps throwing interceptions and they keep stacking up a couple of L's? Because like I keep saying, this NFC North is stacked to the deck, with the Detroit Lions at 8-1, Minnesota at 7-2, and then Green Bay at 6-3. These are all legit squads, and the Vikings cannot take a loss, because the more losses they take, the further back they fall. And you never know what's going to happen with Detroit and Green Bay. And right now at this point, Detroit ain't losing. Not to say that they can't lose, but they don't look like they're losing anytime soon. But Sam Darnold and these interceptions are starting to become a problem. And we'll see if that ends up being a problem for them towards the end of the season when it comes playoff time. Then at number 7 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings, the team that I've been telling you about that I feel like is going to have some issues, and that is the Houston Texans. They are 6-4 on the season, so still a solid record, and they're in a terrible division, so they should still make the playoffs. But this offensive line has become a huge liability, especially over the last couple of weeks. C.J. Stroud, he's had some turnovers. He's been running for his life, and just really hasn't been looking comfortable in the offense. And then when Joe Mixon doesn't have a good game, they just don't look good offensively. And then another stunning stat I would say about them is 5 out of their last 6 games, I believe it is, they haven't even scored in the second half. They haven't scored a touchdown in the second half. So that's a big problem if you can't score in the second half. So with the Texans, yes, I still think they're a good team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But you could see some cracks on the offensive side of the ball, especially with this offensive line. And their injuries at the receiver position, they're starting to become a problem as well. And like I said, C.J. Stroud, he's a very solid quarterback, and he can make the plays when he needs to. But if this offensive line can't block, it's going to become a problem. And he's been getting lit up, and he's been making some bad decisions because he's had to rush some plays. And it just seems to be getting worse each and every week for the Texans. And I kind of feel like once we hit the postseason, if they're still in the mix for the postseason, if they get there, that's probably going to be their downfall once they get there. Or it's going to be their downfall if they don't get there. But I could tell the offensive line has been an issue. I've been noticing it's been an issue, and now it's really starting to become a liability at this point. Then at number 8 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings of the Green Bay Packers, overall record of 6-3. Another guy I'm looking at who's becoming a liability right now is Jordan Love, the quarterback for the Packers. He's got 10 interceptions on the season, right up there with Sam Darnold. Those are the two guys leading the league in interceptions. Love, it's more his injuries. It's kind of looking like his injuries are starting to become a liability at this point, because especially in the last game it was either the last game or the game before, he threw a couple interceptions where you're just like, whoa, what was that? And you could tell the groin was really bothering him, and it was really when he was on the move. And that's kind of his game, is when he's on the move. He tends to play very well. But still, even so, with the interceptions, the Packers defense, one of the top turnover defenses in the league, one of the best defenses in the league, just hands down. So they're playing really well. And then you've got the running back, Josh Jacobs in the backfield. He seems to be getting better and stronger as the season wears on, and I kind of feel like they're going to want to start leaning on him more so than Jordan Love, because those injuries for Jordan Love, they're going to be lingering the rest of the season. So you might want to take the pressure off of him and just give him less of a workload and give Jacobs more of a workload, because he's definitely able to do so, and he's more healthy than Love is right now. Then at number 9 on my Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings of the Washington Commanders, overall record of 7-3. They did just lose a close one this past week, but they're still defensively really taking care of business, offensively making a bunch of plays. I mean, they barely just lost this last game, so they've pretty much been in the mix in each and every game, even the games that they've lost. And you really just can't say too many negative things about this team. That looks like they are pretty close to winning this division, or at least in the mix for it right now. And then rounding out the Tropp 10 NFL Power Rankings this week, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Overall record of 7-2. This defense is just killer. Right now, they have 22 sacks on the season, 10 interceptions, and 8 forced fumbles. So they are having no issues getting at the quarterback, but they're also having no issues causing turnovers, and this is why the Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-2. Offensively, they are starting to get better. They are starting to make strides, but it's still, I look at them and I go, we'll see how they play this week against the Ravens, against a legit squad. If it happens to get out of hand, because you never know what's going to happen with the Ravens-Steelers game. It could either be one of those crazy defensive matchups where the final score ends up being 10-9, or it's one of those crazy offensive shootouts. If it becomes an offensive shootout, I definitely lean towards the Ravens. But the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has actually just looked a lot better, especially since Russell Wilson took over at quarterback. And they just look like a very buttoned-up, well-put-together team. But like I said, if they start to get into a shootout, I think they're going to have issues. But defensively, they are the defense that can actually prevent you from scoring on like a last-second drive, or even potentially block a field goal, or just have the TJ Watt sack your ass and knock you out of field goal range, something of that nature. But, the Steelers, I look at them and they're a good team, but I just don't know if they are a championship-level team just yet. We'll see where they are as the season wears on, but still, they are a very, very good team. Moving on to Week 11. And the Thursday Night Football matchup this week, we actually have another good matchup on Thursday Night Football. We have the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, the Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite. As I always say, these division matchups are crazy, but these are two of the top teams in the NFC East. Washington has pretty much had the lead in the division from Week 1 up until this point, whereas Philadelphia, they've basically been walking through the mud the first all the way up until their bye week, and then their bye week, they've kind of had a turnaround, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I feel like this is definitely going to be a good game. But Washington, they're young. They still have a rookie quarterback, and they're headed into Philadelphia. And the Eagles, they just, to me, I think they're actually the better team, the more well-rounded team. especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's actually where the edge is going to be in this one. I think Philly's defense is going to create problems for this Washington offense, and I think that's just going to be the difference in the matchup. I wouldn't be shocked if they even cause a turnover or two that actually ends up being the difference in the game. I do think it's going to be a close one still, but I've got the Eagles winning this one 24-21. And now moving on to college football and the college football playoff rankings this week and who is in the top 12. Well, man, we have one team that is just really falling. I mean, they are lucky to be hanging on to the number 12 spot. But like I said, we'll get there when we get there. But these are the top 12 teams in college football. If the college football playoff were to start today, this is it. So we've got Oregon still at number 1. They took out Maryland 39-18. They are 10-0 on the season, and they will be at Wisconsin this weekend. Then at number 2, we have Ohio State. They're 8-1 on the season. They just smashed Purdue 45-0. They will be at Northwestern this weekend. Moving up a couple spots. Hook 'em horns, motherfucker. Hook 'em horns, hook 'em horns. The Texas Longhorns moved up 2 spots. They are 8-1 on the season after they just smashed Florida 49-17. They will be at Arkansas this weekend. At number 4, moving up a couple of spots, we have Penn State. They're 8-1 on the season. They just smashed Wisconsin 35-6. They will be at Purdue this weekend. Then at number 5, moving up 3 spots, we have Indiana. They're 10-0 on the season. They just got by Michigan, though, 20-15, and they have a big game coming up in 2 weeks against Ohio State. They are number 2 right now. We'll see what happens with Ohio State. I mean, I don't imagine they're going to lose to Northwestern, but you never know. But Indiana has got a bye week this week. Then at number 6, we have BYU. They've moved up 3 spots. They're 9-0 on the season, and they just got by Utah 22-21. They will be playing Kansas this weekend. Then at number 7, we have Tennessee. They are 8-1 on the season, and they just got by Mississippi State 33-14, and they will be at number 12, Georgia, this weekend. So they have a big game. Then at number 8, we have Notre Dame moving up 2 spots. They're 8-1 on the season. They just annihilated Florida State this weekend, 52-3. They will be playing the University of Virginia this weekend. Moving down 5 spots, a big tumble this week is the U, Miami, because they suffered their first loss. They are now 9-1 on the season. They lost to Georgia Tech 28-23. And, you know, them losing is a big deal for them because, you know, they've been a good team and they've been undefeated this season, but there's been a few games where they've just barely gotten by, so it's not shocking that they lost. It's also not shocking that they took a complete tumble down. But if they win, they should still be in line for a spot in the college football playoff, and they have a bye week this week, and will be playing Wake Forest next week. Then at number 10, we have Alabama. They've moved up a spot. They're 7-2 on the season, and they just beat LSU this weekend, 42-13, and they will be playing against Mercer this weekend. And then at number 11, we have Ole Miss. They've moved up 5 spots. They're 8-2 on the season. They upset Georgia 28-10. They have a bye week this week, and they will be at Florida next week. And rounding out the college football playoff, top 12 is Georgia. Georgia has completely tumbled 9 spots because they are now 7-2 on the season. They did just lose, like I said, to Ole Miss 28-10, and they have another headbanger this weekend against number 7 Tennessee. So, Georgia, if they lose this week, they're absolutely out of the college football playoff, at least for now. But this is the home stretch right here for the college football playoff. You got to keep on winning, and now they're going up against Tennessee. It's going to be a tough game for them if they lose, but hell, it's also going to be a tough game for Tennessee if they lose, because if Tennessee loses, I feel like Tennessee absolutely will fall out of the top 12 next week. But we'll see what happens. If Tennessee wins, well, then that will probably shoot them up to probably number 2 or something of that nature, but we shall see. But Georgia is tumbling, and I think it's hilarious. All right, y'all, that is today's show. Enjoy the rest of the week of sports, and I will talk to you on Friday.